and that's so I want y'all to take that home and or expect me to do it. But Bob really wants you guys to do it. Also, our sponsor, Jerry, you want to start?
And to our tenants, regardless of where our owners may live, and we have owners that live in China. So they have full access with password protected portals. In addition to that, one thing that really distinguishes us differently than our competition is the fact that we have a specifically driven 30-plus page resident manual. Our resident manual was created actually by myself in conjunction with folks from the National Association of Residential Property Managers. And it's a proprietary document that we review in the pre-move-in of every approved tenant before they move into the properties, 24 to 72 hours in advance. And we review this with them page by page. And at the end of the manual, they sign for the manual, they get a hard copy of the manual, and it's also uploaded into their portal, into the cloud, so that they can have direct access to it 24/7. This in itself cuts down a lot of what we call nuisance phone calls, and it provides them with a professional approach to how we manage properties. My name is Jerry Kappa, Realty Property Management. If you'd like one of our rack cards, so stop and see me. Thank you.
And Jerry's right in our office at Line Boss, so you can stop by too to see him. He's usually not there till late in the day, though. Tanya, you guys want to go? You and David?
Sure. Good morning. I'm Tanya Morningstar with American Patriot Title and owner attorney David Rankin. I've met a lot of you, and we've done a lot of the meetings here. The big thing that is the difference with our title company compared to other title companies, because I know you're bombarded with vendors, especially title companies. There's one on every corner. The big difference is that when you partner with us and you are trained, and by trained I mean we are there for you. We are constantly providing trainings at our company for you to come to learn more about the real estate market by people such as Brian Heckman. He's done you can give David a quick call if you need a legal question answered or a quick thing. That's part of what we do. So we are located in Luke, right next to Chabal, across the street from Idlewild Baptist Church. Anything you'd like to add? And on top of that, David is the attorney for GTAR. So he is up to date with what's going on. And again,
Here.
No, we're not going to just close deals just close them. You want to make sure.
Very good.
Ryan?
No cheap fixes for hot water heaters now. Reminder that that's probably not going to get you a referral. So think about home warranties, get them for your clients, especially now with the new changes in hot water heaters. Anyway, thank you very much for having me.
Okay, before we get Brian up here, Brian's going to be our speaker today. So I'm just going to go over a couple of things real quick. If you notice on the table, I put a little contact sheet out there. As you know, we're growing in agents and growing in transactions, and we have a new admin starting. She's actually training right now. So starting June 22nd, this is going to be your new contact list. So I wanted you guys to have it, so you have phone numbers, emails, the names of everybody. MLS dues are past due. So those of you who have not paid your MLS dues need to pay them because we have to put you in active if you're not. The other thing I want to remind you, some little facts. Did you know, which you probably don't, in the month of the month of April, we looked at, the admin team looked at almost 5,000 documents in paperless pipeline. So I wanted to show you guys a little bit of stuff. Okay, transactions. We can get this to work. Yay. You know what? I think I'm going to let Brian go. I'm going to do it at the end. Okay, I'm going to let you go because I got to redo this. No, don't be fast. Yeah, you do have to wear that.
Okay.
Do that.
Usually they always tell the mortgage people to like hurry it up and get the heck off and stay, you know?
You've got the meeting. I'm going to let you do that, and then if there's time at the end, I'll go over paperwork.
Hey, so Chuck, I talk kind of loud and stuff, so let me know if this is too loud or too quiet or whatnot. Hey guys, so I'm Brian Heckman. I'm a mortgage lender. Y'all know mortgage lenders outside of me, right? Awesome. So I don't normally like to talk about mortgage stuff, but talk with Bob and Jim, and really they just wanted me to come here because they were going to be here. So, but pretty timely is all this stuff with TRID. Does anybody not know what TRID is? Anybody not heard of it? Thank you, because I think a lot of people, cool. So it's going to impact us all tremendously. So what I want to talk to you about, though, is how you can go in and explain it in really simple, easy terms with your customers. And then how you can really leverage what the changes that are coming up. It's August 1st is when this is all set to launch. And then how you can set up your to adapt your business to it, because it's coming. So we're going to go through kind of what all that stuff looks like. So hey, my big thing is just perception's reality. So I saw this picture and it kind of wigged me out, because if you look at the right side, there's 3 boards and the left side is 4 boards. So I think a lot of people, mortgage people included, we all just kind of like put our heads in the sand, and it's like, it won't be that bad. Like, remember when the HUD changed back in 2010? Our GFE changed, and I remember sitting there with my company and talking to the owner of our company and being like, buddy, like, what's going to happen? Because I'm not going to know how to read these documents in a couple of weeks. Like, are you going to tell us? And he's like, we really have no idea. And I was just baffled that, like, we didn't really know what it was going to be like until it really rolled out, right? So I hope this thing is going to work here. Great. So anybody members of PRO, Pinellas Realtor Organization? Cool. Did any of you guys go to that, The Economist that came in back in February? No? Check this out. Here's what this guy says. You should go up and hug a lender today. I was like, man, I like this guy, right? He said, what the CFPB is putting our lending industry through right now is unbelievable, and it's only going to get more difficult for our lenders. And just to be honest with you, I sat in the back right at the Pro Auditorium. That place is packed out. Oh, this is Ted C. Jones. The guy is brilliant. He's Stewart Title Guarantee. The guy's just brilliant, right? He had like, if you Google this presentation, it is chock full of awesome data of how housing, especially in our market, it's a huge, huge, huge opportunity for us all in this specific market. But his point is that, man, this stuff's getting nasty. So I'm sitting in the back, and you guys know Jan Dean over there, membership director. I'm kind of sitting by her, and I'm kind of making jokes, with her. We're kind of joking. And then I heard him say this, and I was like, man, I heard about all that stuff. And I know CFPB really well, right? But I was like, it can't be that bad. It's kind of like 2010. We figured it out. We changed over the HUD. We made it, right? And I'm not an alarmist. So the challenge that I have just sharing this stuff with you guys is that I just talked to my compliance officer yesterday. Let me back up. So Lynn, can you just say hi? Hi. So Lynn is she's my loan coordinator, our processor. She's got 19 years experience in the business. So she kind of yin and yangs me because I look like I'm 20, I act like I'm 16. I've been in the business for 13 years, but she's kind of like the brain. So I had to bring her with because I was like, make me sure that I don't say anything wrong here. So I might refer to her a little bit just with the process and stuff as well. So here's the thing is when we share this stuff, your other lenders might not tell you the bad side of stuff because we just don't know, all right? This is all going to change. Just yesterday, my compliance officer, we sat with her for 2 hours. Was it March? We were there in March at our corporate office, and it was like, it was 45 minutes with her. And the first 45 minutes was her basically saying how like our industry is going to be, you know, coming to a total shutdown and all this stuff. And I was like, you are crazy. And then I started like listening and I was like, dang, what's the workaround? Because that's our whole thing. There's clearly workarounds for everything, right? So the challenge that we're going to have is I'm just going to share with you all of the stuff on this and then just know it's all going to change. Like yesterday, she's like, that stuff's changing. I had to review everything I'm sharing here. And she's like, well, that's actually changed a little bit with some of the information. So in about 2 weeks, we're probably going to officially roll it out. So it's going to be kind of fluid, okay? But all the idea is all going to be the same. So this backwards is dirt, and it's ugly. It's dirty. It's kind of sucks, right? Okay, so it is the TILA RESPA integrated disclosure is what it means. You don't need to worry about it. Just when you hear TRID, know about it. Have you guys done any training on this yet, David?
No, not yet.
No, there's like all sorts of like training and all sorts of stuff out there, okay? It's just a new disclosure is really what this thing is. It's just a disclosure. But it will wreak havoc. It's going to create a huge mess in the closing process. And I'm going to show you step by step how that's going to influence you and impact your deals. So why replace old disclosures with new ones? It's created by CFPB. That's the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, and that's a government entity to essentially regulate lenders. And then the opposite side is like literally find the examples we can shut down mortgage companies and use them as an example, right? For what happened in the mortgage meltdown with fraudulent, dishonest, blah, 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 all those lenders, okay? So really it's going to be improving, the whole goal of this is to improve the borrower's understanding of their closing costs. Good idea? Good idea, I agree. Make it easier for borrowers to comparison shop. Good idea? Good? No? No. Ultimately, to protect the consumer experience. Good? Love it. So in theory, it sounds great. The only problem here is that CFPB, they do not consider a delay to be bad. Anybody closed more than 12 transactions last year? Would you consider a delay to be bad?
Yes.
I don't know, for us, when we have to call anybody and say anything about a delay, man, you might as well like put me up on a cross and just throw me out and nail me to it. It's like bad, the end of the world, right? So just keep that in mind as we're talking through this, okay? So we're going to talk about explaining TRID, leveraging TRID, adapting TRID, specifically explaining it to buyers and sellers just in simple terms so that they understand, so that we're not hiding behind the what ifs and that we're being knowledgeable, and obviously you're going to show more credibility up front as well. And then I just think leveraging this thing, you can attract and close more buyers and sellers. And I'm going to show you some of the examples of that. Some of it's really simple that you guys can just literally go get more people because you're talking about it. And then just adapting your processes and systems. So 3 major components to this. It's really easy. If you just want to write down 3 easy things, it's pretty simple. There's a loan estimate. And really all this does, guys, is just combines the good faith estimate, the truth in lending, and the right to receive a copy of the appraisal. So it's really simple. It's not hard. You can Google this, but here's what it looks like. It's just simple. It's not that hard. It's not that scary. It's kind of like I'm trying to teach my 10-year-old, like, hey, girls, they're not scary. Just kind of get to know them, you know? It's all good. Then you've got this final loan estimate. And you guys are probably not going to read about this a lot with all the compliance stuff. The classes that we've sat through, the hours and hours of our compliance officer, she's like bad to the bone. Like, she's mean and she looks like she's mean, and then you meet her and you're like, she's a teddy bear, and you're like, no, she's mean. But she's exists to keep our company open, right? So she's giving me tons of stuff, and I'm, you know, in my mind, I'm like, well, that's just the worst case scenario. There's workarounds for that. And then I'm like, crap, maybe there's not, right? So this final loan estimate, it's basically going to force us to do like a pre-HUD to like, before you get your final figure on the HUD, to like kind of, let's review that and have that final number before the day of closing or whatnot, okay? Not that big of a deal. And then you have this closing disclosure, and this is going to combine the final HUD and the final TIL. So here's really the biggest thing, is that the borrower's got to receive this 3 days prior to closing. So has everybody heard that before? Yes. That's the huge thing. Okay, right here about that. Anybody see where that could be an issue? Okay. Anybody walked into closing and not have your HUD statement yet? In the last couple months? Cool. Anybody waiting for a mortgage company to send out the closing package? Okay. Yeah? Okay, so, yeah, the title company's like, yes, all the time. And we're always the bad guy. And how many times we're like, gosh, we got to file CTC, and there's that one e-card. It's like when I hear CTC, and it's like the party, like, yeah. But it's not that, because it's getting the package out. And then really, it's getting the HUD and making sure everything's good with the HUD. And then really, it's not that. It's really getting the wire to making sure the loan's funded. Someone had a question. Yes?
And we all know that. and none of us know why it happens.
Mhm.
I don't see how TRID, how that's gonna impact. It's just gonna be another reason we don't know why the
Yeah.
thing has been delayed. I mean,
Yeah.
it's.
Well, that's why you're here.
Now I gotta get the HUD to you 3 days in advance, okay?
That's why we're
Get
here.
it to us 3 days in advance, as
Uh-huh.
opposed to now they gotta get it to us before the closing, which
Mhm.
means, anywhere up to 5 minutes. Isn't it just gonna change deadline?
Well, I'm going to show you right now, yeah. Thanks. I should have planted you there, but that's that question. That was perfect timing.
Well, it's a government solution, and we all know how.
Yeah. CFPB. The CFPB, what do they think about delays? They don't think a delay is a problem. So here's TRID is dirt backwards. It's TILA,
But, Brian, the only thing that causes delays.
TILA, RESPA, integrated disclosure.
What causes delays now is lenders not completing underwriting.
Can you hang tight with that question real quick? Because I'm going to show you that in just a couple minutes. Yep. Is that cool? You can Google new closing disclosure form and you'll see that too, okay? It's easy. Here's what it looks like. It's ugly. Not quite as simple as our HUD statement these days, is it? I mean, look at that thing. Look at that. Man, can I just get like just that page? That's really all we need, right? It's crazy. Okay, so I'm going to show you some stuff that really doesn't matter, okay? So don't have to write this down. Just kind of new disclosure or old ways of doing things versus new. So really new, a lender must provide the borrower a loan estimate. We have to do a GFE now, not that much different. The LE includes a cash to close estimate. That's kind of commonplace, right? Borrowers must see settlement service listed alphabetically. It's not that big of a deal, right? So pretty similar. The initial disclosures, the closing disclosure requires disclosure of estimated taxes, insurance, and other items, even if they're not escrowed. Not that big of a deal, okay? The CD will disclose all seller-related fees as well. Not that big of a deal, right? So if you have an honest lender, here's what ends up happening. We provide a fees worksheet. Actually, I forget who this was on. Chelsea, I think this might have been on one of your friends. I'm not sure. This lady was like emphatic, like, because we always disclose there's an HOA fee, if transfer fee, just in case there is. There's not an HOA fee. Actually, it wasn't one of yours. It wasn't. But I was like, okay, I'll go and I'll make sure that she sees there's no HOA, okay, on the front end. But then the bottom line is like, literally, like, how much more obvious can we make this? You guys ever had like a VA loan? What's the good thing about VA loans? Zero down. Literally, the guy's like, dude, I thought when you said zero down, it's zero down. I was like, buddy, look, you signed the paperwork that said you had to bring your closing costs. This isn't that deal, but like people think it's zero down. That means literally I don't have to pay anything, right? So every time we go through this, we're like, gosh, how can we make it more obvious? So we literally make them initial, the red arrows, the red box. This is your cash to close. This is your total payment, right? So we're already doing that stuff though, right? If you have a lender that's not doing that stuff, I don't think any of you guys really work with lenders like that, right? So kind of a moot point. Okay, here's where things get interesting though. So stuff that's changing. There are these certain circumstances that they can trigger a revised loan estimate or even a revised closing disclosure. And so do you guys ever have to deal with this stuff now where like we have redisclosure, we got to wait for 3 days, APR change? You guys heard of this or ever got snapped on that at the end? You guys know like APR is just like crazy mythical, but like we have to follow this thing. If it increases by like 1/8%, then we have to redisclose, not that big of a deal, but then we have to wait for 3 business days to close. And so you guys can be like, I thought it was clear to close. It is. But then we got this crazy thing that such and such changed, and sometimes it's mysterious. Sometimes even I'm like, dude, how did this change? Like, are you serious? Okay. Aggregate total of changes reaches 10%. There's all these different things. Don't worry a whole lot. Here's the point. There's some uncertainty here. Okay, like my closing manager yesterday, I'm talking to her about this, and she's like, yeah, Bri, I mean, I'm just saying that we're not going to really know everything until we really get in and start doing these things. So that's just kind of the honest truth. Like, it is what it is, right? Check this out. Another change. Okay, so the lender is going to be responsible for properly completing the closing disclosure. So we can just say the closing disclosure, guys, is like the HUD. Is that fair? Is that okay? The attorney in the room? It's kind of like the HUD. That's what it's going to be. So you guys have problems getting closing packages out from mortgage companies? Okay, so imagine that. Imagine we just came out at end of month, high volume, right? It's May. It's pretty busy. And now it's not the title that has to just get the package and do everything. Like my closer's got to do that. So now the mortgage companies have got another responsibility, which is a pretty big deal, right? Getting the HUD drawn up, getting it corrected. We had one last week, not you guys. I think there was probably 10 different changes. They had the complete wrong loan amount. It was a short sale title company. Complete wrong loan amount. I think they might have had the wrong loan type. It was just like, dude, what are you looking at? They had like $20,000 in earnest money. We had $2,500 in earnest money. It was like, dude, give me some of what you I want your brownies. Come on. So the borrower and or the seller can request separate versions of the CD. Okay, so now keep in mind, now you got a seller that's going to be calling my company. I'm not even involved in the seller, and I got to provide them. So now my closing department has a potentially separate CD I got to create for somebody that's not even. Are you serious? You guys want a HUD how quick? I want a HUD quick too. Yep.
Is this going to be like at the mortgage broker level, or is it going to be at the?
I'm not a broker. I'm a lender, but it's going to be pretty much the same from what we understand now. So lender, broker. It wouldn't be like if I was a mortgage broker. It would not be like I have to physically do it. It would be the lender.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's all right. That's all right. So yeah, if I was a broker and I went to ABC, SunTrust Wholesale Mortgage, SunTrust Closing Department would be drawing up this stuff. Yeah. Is that what? Okay, cool, great. Okay, so then the borrower must receive a CD at least 3 business days prior to consummation, which is going to be the new word for closing, for signing. Okay, so we'll talk about that. So, but again, uncertainty, guys. Okay. Okay, so traditional time frame. What's funny is because I'm like, I got to take the heat for all these lenders that aren't doing stuff. And hey, sometimes we have problems closing. Sometimes there's docs that don't show up. Sometimes that we think we're getting a CTC and there's something in there. That happens, right? But this is a great question. I don't want to skate around that. But I also don't want like me to be the guy that's taking all the questions and all that, or why don't my other lenders close on time? Just traditionally, in general, okay? So here's what happens. You get an offer accepted, and the reality is we chase your application and chase the docs and get all that stuff together and chasing the borrower. So sometimes you guys sign a contract on a Saturday or Sunday, get it over to us, and it's not that we're not working on weekends, it's that I got to go chase down. The guy sent me his 1040s, but he didn't send me his pay stubs because he thinks we don't need pay stubs. And then he didn't send me all of his pages of his bank statement. He sent me page 1 from 3 months ago to show me he's got $500,000 in there. So I got to chase it all around because if I go submit the loan and it's not complete, then it's going to take even longer, right? So the first week that we're in contract, hey guys, this is all lenders. All right, I'm just giving you general guidelines. This is kind of why stuff gets delayed. We get into first round underwriting, and you know what? Believe it or not, it waits with most lenders. Kind of sits in their queue, right? And we get the appraisal ordered, and we get the insurance and the title. And yes, of course, we're gonna get that appraisal ordered ideally that first week, because all of us lenders want to order that appraisal as fast as possible, compliantly, and all that stuff after we get their signed disclosures. We're gonna order insurance and title and all that good stuff and slam it on in. Then we're going to get the approval, and we're going to start chasing the conditions and get it all set back and go back to underwriting. And then we're going to get the clear to close and the closing package and the HUD. And yes, we turn around deals same day. And yes, we get packages out. And yes, at the end of the month when we're rushing stuff, we can get all that stuff escalated. But in general, there's what you're looking at. So anybody work with the lenders that quote the 3-week closings and stuff? It's pretty awesome, isn't it? 21-day closings are awesome. It just creates a ton of stress when you're doing a transaction that really should take, say, 30 days and compress it into 3 weeks. Now it's just crazy for everybody, right? Just keep in mind, though, now we got to have some margin for inspection issues, for appraisal items. We had one that there was a broken window. Believe it or not, it was a conventional deal, and it was marked as is. We didn't have to fix it, but what's happening is all these secondary investors now are coming back, and they don't want an appraisal with a broken window. Go fix the window. It took them 2 weeks to fix the window. Like, are you serious? It was a custom window. It's like, are you serious? I mean, come on. So current time frames of closing. So we get a clear to close. Closing package goes out, HUD approval, and closing, right? And generally that's like 1 to 3 days is what I would say. That's kind of realistic, okay? So keep in mind, this challenge that's going to come out starting August 1st, here's what will happen, is that HUD approval to closing is, at that point we have a 3-day period. So look at this process now. We get a clear to close, closing package out. HUD is approved, which is the CD, that's this closing disclosure. Now we have to wait 3 business days until we can close. So my thing is, let's just look at, okay, 3 days, it's not that big of a deal. Come on, you lender, like, let's just stop, stop golfing, stop sitting by the pool. Just get your job done. But then and that's a very valid point, by the way, I'm not picking on you, like, that's reality. Because I'm kind of the same thing. We sat with our compliance person, I was like, we're already kind of set up for this. But we're not. I'll show you why. So CFPB does not consider a delay to be bad, okay? So this is American Land Title has this thing. You can Google this, But this is this 3-day closing disclosure rule. So in general, here's kind of a guideline to follow. It's going to change, but in general, you can Google this. I can email it to Maureen. If you want me to email this, I can email this out. In general, let's just say if you want to close on a Monday, your disclosure's due, and really what this is the CD, the closing disclosure. So basically, your final HUD needs to go out the preceding Thursday. Okay, so you got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but watch this. This is this gray area that we all haven't figured out, is Saturday has to be open. You have to be open for business. So what's the gray area that CFPB hasn't identified yet is like what's open for business? Because I'm open for business all the time, right? Except for when Tim Kaiser calls me when the Blackhawks are playing at like midnight, and I'm like, dude, he doesn't do that. So Saturday is kind of this variable. Well, what's open for business? Well, we don't really know. It could be 2 hours. It could just be so all of us lenders are going to have to figure this stuff out, right? Same thing with, is Monday, if I get a clear to close and I get that CD out, is that technically a day? Or is it the next day? I don't know. We don't know. Some people say yes, some people say no. So my point is just, and you'll see how you can adapt your business, we don't really know yet. Because watch this. What if I get a clear to close at 4 o'clock on Monday afternoon? If I got clear to close at 4 o'clock on Monday, and we were trying to close on Friday, who would think that would be an okay deal? Okay. On a 30-day transaction? Not bad, current, right? I know, and Jillian's like, I want that thing 2 weeks ahead of time, right? But like the reality, that's possible, right? So the challenge, though, is if I get that clear to close at 4 o'clock, this doesn't say clear to close. That's not a 3-day clear to close rule. It's a closing disclosure rule. So now let's just keep in mind, now I got to get that to my audit department to do their final QC, to get the file to my closing department, to then get basically the HUD approved. So that's a lot of work that needs to get done in 90 minutes of business time, right? So now it starts to be like, crap, it's not that easy. So that's the only problem with some of the stuff on the internet is like, this is just the closing rule. This doesn't talk about the process, right? Okay, so additional 3-day waiting period for all this stuff with increasing to APR for different costs and different blah, 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 because there's some verbiage that we have to nail the appraisal perfectly every time. So I might know that my appraisal costs $405, but what happens when the window's broken that we don't know about? What happens when these short sale or these bank-owned deals and like someone goes in there and steals the appliances and now we got to go do a final inspection or whatever the situation is? So if we have to redisclose that, it's okay, it's just a change of circumstance, but that could also cause a delay, right? So that's where it's like, come on, this is crazy. This is going to change the way we do business, guys, right? Does that make sense to everybody? How those change, sometimes we just don't know about them, okay? Doesn't matter. Some of these things have a 0% tolerance. So that's like an example. That appraisal fee is like, if the borrower can't shop for these things, there's a 0 tolerance, which is just holding us accountable. That first slide, you all said, it's great. It keeps the lenders accountable. It helps the consumer. But then what happens when there's a curveball with real estate transaction? I don't know if you guys deal with curveballs in your sales, but it seems like every day there's something going on, right? Okay, so what realtors need to know about TRID? Just really easy. Just explain the new disclosures. Okay, so go Google them, get familiar with them, and just know, bottom line cash to close, great, there's the fees. If someone's charging points or broker fees, there they are. Identify them. It's not that big of a deal. It's like my boy meeting girls. Most lenders are going to be providing the final closing disclosure. I don't know which lenders. I don't know when we would and when we wouldn't. I don't know what title companies. I don't know. From what I've heard is lenders, and then I saw the verbiage that most lenders. I'm like, well, let me just tell you guys, most lenders, right? Time of closing based on the CD delivery, i.e. the HUD. Borrowers are given 3 business days to review. 3 days start when the borrower receives the form, which is going to be really important too. This is crazy. Okay, there's 3 different ways, right? Hand deliver, courier hand deliver. You can mail it, and I think it's oh yeah. So they say if hand delivery by USPS 6 to 7 days prior to closing. So I guarantee none of us are going to be doing that. And then there's the e-disclosure. So the e-disclosure is if it's e-signature compliant, that's going to basically be like handing it to them on paper. But watch this, guys. It becomes really important. You grab a hold of your transactions and your borrowers. Because it's not okay if they get it and look at it and don't go in there and acknowledge it like pronto, like now, like the minute you get it. I don't care if you're working and you got to take off, take your bathroom break now. and go do it, right? It becomes very important because we literally have, and this is the compliance departments, they will not let us close if we don't have this stuff buttoned up the right way, okay? Disclosures are going to be more frequent and in greater numbers. And we talked to our team about this. They just laughed. Joe in my office does, he like actually manages our disclosure, our e-disclosure process, and he was just like, you're crazy. We already disclose enough. We have to re-disclose. It's crazy what we have to do. So yeah, but everywhere I'm reading, it's like, yeah, that's just the way it's going to be, okay? You don't need to worry about that. So what should you ask your mortgage lender? On the loan estimate up front, if you're a listing agent, you want to know, has the borrower given their intent to proceed? If not, they have not selected their lender. Same thing, sometimes you guys sign a contract on Monday, and then you're calling the lender the next Monday and being like, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, why hasn't the appraisal been ordered? Because the guy isn't committed to me. So I know you got a 30-day transaction, but Daddy over here has only got 3 weeks now to close his loan because the guy can't commit to where he's going to go. So you got to get really good with handling your transactions, okay? Selling agent, confirm the borrowers expressed their intent to proceed. This is the buyer's agent. And provide their credit card information to order the appraisal. Credit card information can only be accepted by the lender after the intent to proceed has been given. Fair enough? Closing disclosure. So this is kind of the new HUD statement. Listing agent, make sure escrow and the lender has all your fees, including your commissions. Make sure the borrower received the closing disclosure at least 3 days prior to closing and acknowledge, right? Hey, no longer can you slap in stuff at the end, which I don't know what you guys see, but that doesn't really happen anymore, where like you can slap in, if you guys charge an admin fee, just show of hands. Anybody charge admin fees? Show of hands really high, not T-Rex. Anybody not charge admin fees? Okay, so if you do, get it in there up front, right? Great. Exempt transactions really quick, HELOCs, reverse mortgages, mobile homes, businesses, houseboats, all that good stuff. After the closing disclosure is issued, try not to change anything. If you do, you just let us know immediately. It's kind of like if you make a change to the seller credit, you guys got to let us know because sometimes there's issues with different lenders. Sometimes even if the seller credit is acceptable per guidelines, we still have to re-underwrite it, which could just delay stuff, right? Definitions of business day, it's all gonna be kind of a gray area for a while. All calendar days except Sundays. Remember that whole thing with Saturday, is your business open or not? That's kind of this gray area that still hasn't really been decided. And then you've got your major holidays. You can always go on to CFPB, just Google it, and you can look up all this stuff as well on your own. Okay, so leveraging this thing for your business. So what's going to be really fun is that the people that know, the realtors that know this and the realtors that don't know this, we're all going to look alike. We really are, right? It's just kind of the reality. But how you communicate this is going to really set you apart because consumers, they don't know about this. And just like when we get people, we got this guy now, we call him Maverick because he's literally like a Top Gun fighter pilot. And he's guy's bad to the bone. And we have sent him not less than 10 emails back and forth. Hey, here's the checklist of items. And it's just the basic stuff, 1040s, W-2s, pay stubs, bank statements, ID statements. That's it. No less than 10, because every time he replies with one thing. Literally, one. He is. He's an amazing guy. Not easily accessible. Lynn's like, hey, he's really good looking, too. That's really what she's saying. And I'm like, yeah, he's really good looking. I'm going to say. But hey, here's what you got to do. Is just like the document process, you got to grab people. However you view it, hold them by the hand, grab them by the scruff of the neck, however you want to describe it, you got to lead them because that's what they're paying us to do, is to lead these people through the process. So if you're able to communicate with people up front about what this stuff is and just address the fact that like, hey, at listing agents, I wouldn't write a contract for 30 days. There's going to be a ton of realtors that don't know this and their head is totally in the sand. There's going to be a ton of lenders that are going to still talk to you about 21-day closings and their head's in the sand. So just be prepared. Rich Sulkin, one of your guys' agents here, he called me this morning. I was like, he got an approval with somebody, called me up. I listened to what they're saying. Yeah, Rich, because of this, it's not a Fannie Mae thing. It's not caught in the underwriting system. I can run an approval on this, get you an approval, but then once we manually look at this, because of this, and Rich said, oh my gosh, I know that because I know that. And he called me this morning. He's like, hey, so-and-so got him approved, man. They said they can close in 10 days. And Rich is a really smart guy. Rich is a good producer here. I was like, dude, I'd call the loan officer and just make sure. I'd close it out in 10 days. I would go do it. You know, it's an online lender. He's like, you hear these guys? Like, yeah, they're all over the TV. So the point is, though, just like address the stuff up front, right? And just be real about it. And then guess what? If you can close in 30 days, yahoo. If your buyers of your listings can close, awesome, right? Okay, so honesty, expensive gift. Don't expect it from cheap people. And yeah, some people, like the commodity part of our business, whether it's mortgage or real estate, this is gonna wipe it off. I mean, it really is. Because now you're gonna hear people that it's your fault that the thing didn't close on time. And then let's think about the logistics when you're setting somebody up on a listing to sell. They're moving, their U-Haul's packed, they're good to go. You wrote the contract for 45 days, it ends up closing in 60, and now imagine you guys had a closing that didn't close on time in the last 12 months? It's gonna get ugly, right? And then here's my big thing is the logistics. I don't want to be negative. I'm going to show you some opportunities to like improve your systems and stuff and adapt. But then look at how much time you have away from doing 7 levels of communication, calling people, meeting people, because you're having to deal with all the stress and the logistics of basically now you're having to be like a moving company. And it's a hot mess. So some people would say go figure out great contacts at moving companies and hotels and short-term stays. And I would say just learn how to have posture on the front end and do the right thing. Okay, so first consultation question I would ask is, hey, can I just shoot you straight? Whether it be on the buying side or the listing side. Can I just shoot you straight? And what you'll normally find is people that are like, gosh, Jillian, yes, please, because I've talked to 4 other agents and ... right? So it just kind of puts them at like, oh, someone's going to be honest with me. And then just attracting buyers and listings. So this whole thing is only for applications as of August 1st. Ding, 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 ding. It's June 2nd. So basically, roughly, we have 90 days of closings that can happen before all this stuff takes place. So you have 58 days, roughly, that people can, roughly 2 months, that you can get people into contract and applied. So in other words, if I apply somebody on June 31st, I don't care when they close. There's probably going to be some sort of window, but it's application date. So what that means is if you have a vacation plan for the month of July, I might change that to the month of August because you got a huge opportunity to go capture some business. Because what this means is you can just go verbalize to people, if you do this now, you don't have to deal with this mess. Make sense? I think that would be it. I would probably cut out and be like, great, just go, honestly, right? Longer closing periods. So you might want to just drop the news now that there are going to be longer closing periods. So our compliance officer, and she goes to all these meetings with all these banks and all that crap. She said the government says they've beta tested this and it's been an average of 88 days contract to close. What? There's some crazy stuff. Y'all heard the IRS had a breach in their system? Y'all know we had a client, they have to go down to the IRS office now. The breach happened in their electronic system. And guess who has to pull IRS transcripts on every single file? Lenders do. And some people are like, why you got to do that? You collect my 1040s, my pay stubs, my W-2s, you do a verification of employment. And apparently they forgot that we have these things called whiteout, and you can white out any of those documents and alter them, so we got to pull them directly from the IRS. So yesterday, we have a client that had to do this. Like, they had to do this stuff, and they went down to the IRS office, and they went there, I think it was roughly 10:30. The line was out the door around the corner. They waited there, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours. And then they were told, the IRS came out and said, we're done. We can only do 50 days a day, so we're done. Y'all come back tomorrow. We open at 9 o'clock. Hey, I'd suggest getting here at 5 a.m. if you want to actually get it done. It's crazy. We can't really deal with that. Look it up. Forbes.com. Look up IRS tax breach. You'll see it. My point is, like, there's stuff that's just, we're the dirty lender, but like we got to have the IRS transcript. So it's kind of like proactively, that might be something that y'all talk to your people about and just find out. If you don't have your tax transcripts, we used to be able to pull them offline. Last couple of weeks, something got weird. We're like, I can't pull this up. This is weird. And then it's like, boom, big breach. Okay.
We write a contract on finance purchase. Closing 3 months.
I wouldn't necessarily go for 3 months. I'm just telling you, it could be.
But it could be. So
could be.
Even where the 55 days, we probably going to need an extension. Yeah.
Flexible margin. It's like, yeah, I know. And here's the thing, guys. I'm I'm in a dangerous spot though, because I'm just sharing information, probably a little more on the front end of how it's going to impact your business. But the next guy might be like, that's crazy. I can't believe that lender said that. No way. We could still do it in 30. I'm going to show you our business is set up to accommodate this, but the reality is there's a lot of unknowns. So I don't want to be dishonest and just be like, I don't want to be one of those guys. And hey, you know what? David, what did you say? They're lobbying. Go to the attorney guy. They're lobbying to postpone this or give you a grace period.
It's still going to be implemented on August the 1st.
Okay.
A number of congressmen, senators, and that have been lobbying CFPB, saying this could be, it will be a problem for the transition. Why don't we have CFPB put a moratorium for 90 days on enforcement? In other words, there will be a period of time where the rules apply, that CFPB would not use your failure to comply as a police fine. That's sort of working its way through being considered.
So like Heidi, we talked about this. So what's the worst thing that can happen? Best thing that can happen is they do that and they push it back and there's a moratorium, and we're probably all still going to start following the same rules because we're kind of having to get set up that's going to happen. But if we have like a practice quarter to do it, that'd be great, right? Probably ain't going to happen. But so what's the worst thing, Heidi, that you run for the next 2 months and all these people that are looking to buy and sell, you light a fire under them, and then it comes out where there's a moratorium. And then what does Heidi say? Hey, that's cool. I'm going to take off the month that this thing really gets initiated, but I just closed all this stuff and I ran like heck to close people out based on, and the worst case, if there's a moratorium, okay, great. We just boosted up your productivity in the middle of the year, right? So if it comes, it comes, but it could come the day of. We don't know. Yep.
And so how does the lender commitment include all this?
Doesn't say anything about it. CFP, they don't care about it. Yeah, interesting. CFPB. Longer lock periods, obvious reasons. Delays in closing, just being honest, just being real with you. Delays in closing, it's going to happen. So you can be proactive and just talk about it, right? And you don't have to be the one, you're just being real about it, right? I would set expectations, and I would build in plenty of margin for that. So yeah, that could happen. Could you write a contract for 45 days and it takes 60? Yep. Could it take 88? Yep. Could. So like on the listing side, you might just, instead of like, screw you, I'm going on to the next deal, I'm going on to the cash deal, whatever it is, you might just want to have conversations. I'm just letting you know up front. It's not like we're dropping the ball or anything like that. There's just some crazy stuff that's going to happen. I'll show you some of the time frames in this too. And then I would just promote and be able to effectively communicate your process and your system to people. So if you have stuff set up, I'm going to show you some stuff here real quick, how you can adapt. So there's going to be some train wrecks that are just a complete disaster, right? And there's going to be some happy people that are like, wow, I didn't even know that stuff. You guys, like we joke about this up front. Let me just paint the picture for you. You're going to get a mortgage. It's ugly. It's brutal. It's not warm and fuzzy. It's not like we're going to buy a cool, swanky iPhone at the iPhone store. It kind of is a pain in the butt. But if you'll just do what I ask you to do, like it'll work out great. Oh, gosh, I just appreciate that, Brian. Thanks so much. Okay, great. Here's the checklist. Give me these documents, because without the documents, I can't do anything, right? That's kind of our process. We've kind of like been saying that for a couple years now. So if you go through this process, everyone will be happy. Not the little kid. He looks like he lost out on the good bedroom to his sister or something, right? So in the Realtor Education section, straight from the Realtor Education, I copied this word for word in one of these trainings. Here's what it says. Tell your realtors, no quick closings. Tell them no last minute changes. Tell them they need to extend contracts. Mike, I know you love to hear this, right? So it wasn't really from me. It was from them, right? So don't blame me. Plan on 60-day closings. Hey, some people say 88-day average. Hey, this is the scary one. Loss of control of the transaction. So control freaks? I think all of you are control freaks. So there was an agent yesterday that's like, I don't like to lose control of the transaction I was talking to. And I was like, yeah, it's going to suck, but you're going to kind of be at the mercy of some of this stuff, right? So here's 3 tweaks that you can do. Just allow for margin. So just know, like, if we're going to get into contract on Saturday, boy, just know that first week that lender is going to be chasing those people down to get stuff, right? Talk about that in just a second. Control the start, right? You can control how you start the transaction. So like Heidi and I, we had a great, what did we talk? We talked for like 90 minutes. And it was crazy because she came to our office and it was like, I want to see everything about the processes and all this. We talked about some of this stuff here. But it wasn't about like, how are the kids? Hey, how was that awesome trip you took? We did talk about the Blackhawks a little bit, but it was like processes, and it's a lot about the start. Like, how do we start people? We don't start people by getting them in the car and getting rapport with them. We start them with, grab the rapport. Great, you're calling me for one reason, to buy or sell a house. Let's make sure that everything's in order. So if you're a buyer, you better get your documents over to the lender, because we're not going to play the game of, well, yeah, but the documents don't really reflect blah, 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 that income, that asset, whatever, right? And then just track the milestones. It's really important, because then if we're tracking the milestones, we kind of know as we go along, hey, if the appraisal hasn't been ordered in 2 weeks, we kind of have an issue here, right? Make sense? So with margin, closing time frames longer, tighter tolerances for these changes that can happen. Appraisals, credit, stuff like that. More unknown and just flat redisclosures. Bye-bye to the rush stuff, because what we're all going to be facing the first quarter this thing comes out is making sure that we're like to the T on this. So exceptions might be a little more tough to get on rushes, right? New policy rules. And then like this whole thing is created, the CFPB, it's like hefty fines, right? So that's why a lot of us mortgage companies, our compliance people are on the hook for this and stressing out, because they're going to be telling us, no, you can't do that because X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, come on, it's a piece of paper. And they're going to say, no, and we could literally get huge fines or, just shut down or lose licenses. There's like serious repercussions for this stuff. So like we have this proactive loan closing process that we initiated, I don't know, at some point, I think early last year. And it was get it clear to close at least 3 days prior to closing, closing docs out at least 2 days prior to closing, and get the HUD approved at least 1 day prior to closing. And we share that and people are like, yeah, you can't do that. That's crazy, right? And we start executing it because we'd back up and we'd be on it up front with the documents. But then like, that's not going to work. We're kind of messed up because now we got to like back this up. So it's almost like you need to clear to close like a week prior to closing. So check out some of these dates. Oh yeah, so we're not buying an iPhone, right? It's not warm and fuzzy. You just got to be real with people and let them know. So check out this time frame. We talked about this. TRID. So TRID, we got the big bad wolf, and this is really what the big bad wolf looks like. It's kind of like my compliance officer. She kind of looks like this. We should send that back to her. So check this out. Remember we talked about this, the 3-day period. But the question is really, when I get it clear to close, how fast can I get the HUD approved? The CD is really the question. So again, just keep in mind, end of month, I talked to my closing manager about this, and I showed her this yesterday, and I was like, so really, the problem is, I get it clear to close and we're all excited, but it doesn't matter. I got to force you now in your department, so then we got to do our final QC, make sure the final rate check's good, make sure we get a final verification of employment. Anybody ever had to deal with that, the verbal verification of employment at the end? So it might be something, if your lenders aren't doing this, to make sure that you get like 2 or 3 phone numbers for the lender to call at the end to verbally verify. We had one in, I think it was before Christmas. It was in November. A guy lost his job. The girlfriend lost her job a week and a half prior to closing. We're trying to get the docs out, and we go to the final VOE, and she lost her job. So like, hey, buddy, what happened to your girl? Oh, yeah, she got laid off. Well, dude, you're closing in a week and a half. Did she have a job? No. So we had to delay the closing. So every time we had these final verbal verifications, you just got to keep in mind, if we get the contact to call, but the HR guy's out renting a car at Hertz rental car and doesn't answer his phone. This happened 2 weeks ago. I got to have somebody to call. So I might want to have the direct number to the supervisor and maybe another direct number to somebody else so that the lenders can just call real quick, get the final verbal, and get it into closing. There's a lot that goes on before we can actually get the closing package out, which is sometimes why everyone gets bent out of shape about it. Well, no, the guy's not going to lose his job, but I'll just take you back to the guy that did lose his job, and we're definitely, and by the way, didn't tell us because he thought he could get one by the goalie. So this is a big thing. It's just how long is that going to take with mortgage companies? That's the hard part. You guys are going to be loving life. You're loving life for those title companies. Remember, the CFPB does not consider a delay to be bad. Okay? So best case, we get a clear to close. We can count this 1 day, and or we can count Saturday, and now you've got until the following Wednesday to close. Okay, this is actually inaccurate. Okay, just breaking news. Because what apparently this is all getting worked out now is that we have to issue a final estimate, a final loan estimate, which is kind of like that pre-HUD thing, and then wait 3 days. So I'll show you that. That's just a hot mess, right? Now, I don't know positively, but that's what my compliance person said. No. Actually, what they're saying now is you got to have this final. It's just crazy. So we used to be able to close, but just remember we got to keep all the space for margin too, right? Any of these differences in the fee estimate that we have to redisclose, the redisclosure, tolerance issues, conditions that come up, right? Like sometimes we have these people that they're going to gift money. We got one coming in from Turkey. Money coming in from Turkey, currency exchange, document it. Holy cow, there's crazy stuff, and sometimes it doesn't happen immediately, right? I don't know if you guys deal with that, but we deal with it all the time. So just keep in mind, if we have a fee estimate that needs to get redisclosed in a 3-day wait period, like we got more time, we got to wait, right? So here's the point. I wouldn't be afraid of it. Just know the timing is going to be the biggest thing. Just having some time margin. Yes?
I can see, based on this calendar, that 45 and 60 days is realistic.
Yes.
But my question as a listing agent is, if I put a 60 days close, does my contract get put in a queue later than someone that has a 30-day close? Because, I've noticed that even if I have a long close, stuff isn't being done until the last week, where I thought it would be done 2 weeks before because I gave them they had so many extra days.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I'm always afraid to put 60-day closings because I think the lender puts it in the queue 2 weeks later than somebody else that maybe closes 30 days.
So,
Which is a real concern, but it's absolutely unrelated to TRIP.
it is. That's a different conversation for a different day. I'm going to get you guys out of here on time. Check this out. Number 2, control the start. Thanks for bringing that up. Control the start. Communicate effectively. Mr. Borrower, you need your dang documents before we go house hunting. And that's the hardest thing. Sometimes you guys got to go out in the car and build your relationships with them as a salesperson, even if they haven't done this. And Maverick, that's what they did. Dude, Maverick bought a $575,000 house. Maverick came in from Denver, from Colorado, to visit for a weekend, and is one of our best referral sources, and they're really, really good agents. And they're like, dude, is he pre-qualified? Dude, I don't know, man. He doesn't have any of his documents. He just came in. Based on what he verbally gave us, we're going to be tight, man. Really, you should buy a house for like $500, but now you're at $550, and then they end up buying at $575. I mean, who's going to do that deal? The guy's putting down the balance to make a conventional mortgage. Are you going to do the deal? Who's going to do the deal? Anybody? Show him some houses, $575. Dude wants to close in 30 days. So someone's going to do it, right? So this is and then 30 days later we find out, dude, he's piecemealing me stuff, dude. And they wrote like a 45, 50-day contract because I told him, look, he's got none of his documents. This guy's going to be hard to chase, flying everywhere. And then we hear like, gosh, why does it's last minute? It's not. It's just, it's the borrower. So if we can get to a point where you guys help the lenders, let them know, like, get us your documents, right? You guys have to know some of the mortgage finances. You just have to. You have to know, is it a 44.9% DTI deal on a conventional? Is it a 53% on an FHA? Do we have a 617 credit score? Or do we have a 700 credit score? Like, you got to know some of that stuff. And then just the expectations and the urgencies. So we have this offer accepted program, right? And the whole point of this is we have 4 people that are on the front end for the origination side and pre-underwrite side that, just being honest, I've been doing this 13 years. Most people have one loan officer who does all of the stuff and then gets it into processing. And all the stuff is really verbal application, pull the credit, run it through the Fannie Mae, perfect. Get it into queue and let some processor in a cubicle chase around the documents. And 2 weeks later, we go through, we still don't have some documents, it's out of underwriting, cool. And then we get back a document and it's a big thing that trips us up. The pay stubs that were never sent in. So if we could communicate with you and be like, hey, look, we got this guy, it's a great risk. The guy's got a 750 credit score, he's Maverick. It sounds like he's great. But he has not sent in his LES statement. I don't know what his LES is. He told me it's $9,500 a month. LES is a military pay stub. But when we get it, I don't know. And if it says that it's $8,400, we're tight, even though he looks good, smells good, talks good, and all that stuff, right? And then so what we do, and this is what Heidi was talking about, when we met in lunch, I think it was like 2 months ago after one of these meetings, and I talked about this, and she was like, what? Because really what we're trying to do is, like, Lynn's putting you in the spot, but Lynn's 19 years in the business, so she can underwrite this stuff like the back of her hand. To me, I'm like, I kind of throw up in my mouth when I look at these complicated pay stubs. She looks at it, and she's like, oh, this is awesome. And it's like 15 minutes later, I know, it's gross, right? The shock and awe, kind of. So if we can do that and set up the system, but what that means is I don't have time to chase around people that are like, well, I don't really want to have my credit pulled now. Perfect. Here's what we do. We pre-approve people and we close loans. So when you're ready to have your credit pulled and give me your documents, let's rock and roll. And that might be how you guys want to start handling your business, is like when you're ready to go through it and tell me what your credit score is, your debt ratio, how you get paid, because it's a big deal. If I'm calling, let's say if you have a buyer for one of Heidi's listings, or vice versa. Let's say one of your buyers come in, and you mentioned your listings. And if I'm able to call you at the time that the offer comes in, I'm able to call you, you're getting multiple offers, right? How many offers typically on one of your listings? 2? 3? So you get your choice. Now I'm going to call you. Hey, just FYI, we got Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and they have a 710 credit score, and they've got a 32% debt ratio, and I know you saw that 20% down in the conventional mortgage. I just want to let you know, great ratios. He's been in his job for 7 years. The wife's been in her job for 5 years. We've already pre-underwritten 1040s, W-2s, pay stubs, and bank statements. So if it's close, you might jump on it, right? So that's the whole point of this. Checklist communication is you have pre-contract checklists. You have application, the intent, you have checklists for that, loan milestones, pre-closing, clear to closing disclosure. You just got to get all your checklists in place. Like we have this automated, it's not automated, but it's automated. Let's just, through the milestones, just keep you informed of what's going on. So you want to talk to your lenders about, hey, like what kind of systems do we have in place to keep you guys updated and informed, because it's going to be really, really important. We do weekly updates too on, typically we'll call you one. You guys recognize that? What is it? What is it? No, it's SNL. It's SNL. I got to put like Jimmy Fallon next to me or something. I don't know. So I would just go get checklists. Like we have checklists for everything. Like I don't even think we can count the checklist now. Like they make fun of me for the checklist, but I don't like when things don't get done. We've refined our systems a bunch. So yeah, a bunch of them. Okay. Yeah, you guys know I'm a mortgage lender. I'm compliant. Okay, so let's just go back real quick. If you guys have any questions, and then we'll wrap up on my side. And Maureen, it's all you. So let me just take it back. So calendar. So any questions? Like quick, easy, fast? Yeah.
Oh, okay. When you're dealing with bank foreclosure or bank owned, I mean, is this going to make the system, because we have that date, we have to go past that.
I don't know. I don't know.
So as soon as they do it.
Yeah, and I know like on the bank sides, right? It's like if you miss the date, you got to pay X amount. I don't know how it's going to work out. I mean, and again, it might not be a problem at all. It might get delayed. It might get thrown out. We might be able to adjust some stuff. It might not be as bad. I'm just sharing you based on yesterday. Here's exactly where yeah.
I'm sending the information. She gets it by email. She has
And who is she? Is she a buyer?
Yeah,
Okay.
Miss Buyer. We don't do e-sign. We just send her everything. Does she have to, or the buyer has to send us something back? I received that on June 1st.
We use e-signature, so we will do which is compliant and it's instant.
All
It's
lenders do e-sign?
I don't know. Just like all realtors handle their business differently, all lenders can do things differently. So it's a question you probably want to ask up front.
Okay.
Yeah. So like it's it's what we talked about. Like, sorry to keep pointing to. We had an awesome conversation about it though, where it's like it's the processes that really matter, right? So it's really important. Like I met with an agent yesterday that wanted to know like all this marketing stuff, and I was like, yeah, we kind of stopped doing that because all this stuff came, and it's like we just got to go service this stuff, right? We just got to be able to close stuff and be efficient and all that, because you can get business by just communicating changes and just being the realtor that closes stuff out, and then inform them this is a pretty crazy market we're in, so that they know like the stuff that you did and your checklist and your systems and all that. Make sense? Anybody else? Awesome. That's all I got. Cool.
All right, well, we're almost done anyway, so I think what I'm going to do is I'll probably teach a class on People's Pipeline on some real nuances that you guys might not know about, and that way we can put it on the training website and you guys can go and review it instead of just going over a few things. But I did want you guys to know that we do review like over 5,000 documents a month of the average staff. So I know there's some days you're like, why are they looking at my file? It's like, oh my goodness, you only knew how many files you have to review.
And we are always changing our admins. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. We are always changing our admins from time to time. So because of that, we ask that you communicate through paperless pipeline. When you send a note through paperless pipeline, when you're inside the transaction, there's a subject line. It's very helpful if you put on there, you know, new listing package, or I put in my missing docs, or help, I need a DA, or you could say something like, I'm new, help. Because we open, all those emails go to a central place that all admins have access to, whoever's working that day or working from home. So when we're looking at all those emails, we kind of do like a general, like, okay, what's on fire, what's on fire? And sometimes we can tell what's on fire because it says help, or I need a DA, or urgent, closing in an hour, or whatever. So when you communicate through paperless pipeline, it is very helpful that when you, in the subject line, you say something, you know, like, if it's just a listing file, you don't even have to tell us it's there because it just goes in the queue. But like I put my HUD statement in, you know, that's kind of goes a low priority in our list of things to look at. So that would help us a lot if you communicate those things. Also, Chelsea Day, I don't know if you guys remember. I don't know if any of you guys remember Chelsea. She's right over there. She's a realtor now. I just love seeing her little face. Chelsea used to be on the admin team for years, so she's probably like so thankful not to be over here doing all this again. Yeah, I know. I often wonder what you think when you log in, like, oh, I'm so glad I'm not the one on the other end of this. It is good to see you, though. And let me see if there's anything else. Oh, I know what I want to tell you guys. Do you guys all know you have a mail folder at the office? We get thank you cards from clients, from realtors, from title companies. We get marketing material and all different kinds of things. We put them in your mail folder. So if you don't know, the next time you're at the office, go into the metal filing cabinet and pull out your mail. Take it. What happens is once a year we go through and we just trash everything. So just think about it the next time you're over there. Stop by and look at it. And also, several times we get in the mail realtor magazines, like the Florida Realtor magazines, stuff from NAR, the board stuff. Your address needs to be changed at the board level, your mailing address, not your office address, but your mailing address, so that all that stuff goes to your home. Because a lot of you are missing out on some really great magazines and stuff because they just end up going in your folder or getting trashed. So I want to give you guys a heads up about that. And another thing I wanted to remind you about, a lot of you don't know this, we have a tab in Paperless Pipeline up at the top of your dashboard that says Reference. If you click on that, all of our office docs are in there. So many times if you forget your login to our website, or you're trying to get, you know, office docs off a Future Home site and you're frustrated because you can't get in or something, you can always get them from Paperless Pipeline. We have a little reference tab at the top. So I just wanted to remind you. June 22nd, this is your contact list because we do have a new girl coming in. Reminder to just use the cell phone sparingly. Try the email because it just works so much better for the whole team as we work together. You can text us as well. Deb Bryan does not have a normal cell phone for you to call anymore. It's a Google voicemail. So always try the email as much as you can. So that's it. You guys, we're done, and enjoy your day. And we'll see you hopefully at the Michael Mayer event.